This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Learn more and download yours at takecontrolbooks.com. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is a talk of the Mac community. I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the road to Macworld takes a kind of an unexpected turn. We had some news in the Macworld recently that was a surprise and maybe not a surprise. So to welcome back an old friend with a new position for the first time on Mac Voices, Jean MacDonald, the Executive Director of App Camp for Girls. Jean, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chuck. It's great to be here.
So is Madam Director, is that how we should address you, or?
It's a good question, actually. I haven't really, since it's, I'm the only full-time person, I think you could say chief cook and bottle washer. It's a volunteer position right now. And so I don't know if it qualifies as an executive directorship, but that would be the goal. But App Camp for Girls. And yes, I am managing the program full-time now.
Okay. Well, it's great. We hated to see you part ways with Smile, but on the other hand, your visits before and, of course, our discussions off camera and all about this project, there's no question that this is an effort of love, an effort of passion, that this is something you feel strongly about. And, of course, this is the road to Macworld, so we're here not just to talk about App Camp for Girls, but also for the App Camp for Girls session that you're going to be doing at the show, which I think is fantastic because it really introduces the organization to sort of the community that helped get it off the ground.
Exactly. When Paul Kent approached me about doing a session like this, it was in the middle of our crowdfunding campaign last summer, which was going extremely well. We raised $50,000 in 3 days instead of what we thought would take 6 weeks. And it was, primarily due to the enthusiasm of the people in our community, the Mac users and developers, and of course, iPhone, iPad, the Apple product using community that really got that off the ground. And so it made a lot of sense to me that we would have a chance to show off what we're doing and say, here's what you're supporting, and here's what we're doing and where we plan to go with it for the people who helped us get it off the ground.
Jean, for the folks who've been living under a rock and have not been paying attention to this, give us the elevator pitch for App Camp for Girls, what it is and what you've accomplished already.
Sure. App Camp for Girls is a 1-week summer program, full-time day camp for girls. Currently, the age group we're targeting is 13 and 14-year-olds that is intended to give them exposure to the whole process of developing iPhone apps, from coming up with the ideas and designing the interface to building the app and then pitching the app. And making presentations to show what they've done. And the idea is that I think everybody's pretty well aware that there's very few women who are working as software developers compared, to the number of men. And we think that by introducing girls at an early age to what we think is a lot of fun and, a very creative enterprise, that they might consider, going on further in that field and maybe eventually becoming software developers or programmers themselves. And we started last summer, 2013, and we did 2 sessions in Portland, Oregon, where we're based currently, and it was a huge success. The girls really loved the program. They got to do a lot with making up these apps that they built, that week. Of course, we don't teach them how to program in 1 week. That's not very realistic. But the idea is to give them a taste of what they would be doing if they were programmers, and give them the incentive to go on, and be more enthusiastic about maybe during the school year learning programming, where they might be the only girl in a class of all boys, to have a little confidence and enthusiasm behind them going into those years when girls tend to drop out of the math and science related and technology related subjects. And so they really liked in fact, they liked the programming so much we had to keep coming up with more stuff for them to do. They were very fast. They learned really quickly, and it was really a joy to work with them. Besides myself, there's Natalie Ostin, who's an iOS programmer full-time. She's somebody I met at WWDC, the developer conference, a couple of years ago, and she actually works for Smile now, and she does all the side of developing templates for the girls to use in Xcode. Kelly Gamont, who a lot of folks know from Tua, she's kind of our head cheerleader, and she's an awesome volunteer. And so the three of us plus a really wonderful group of volunteers who came together last summer put it on, and I think everybody was very excited about how it turned out.
As I recall seeing a lot of the tweets and talking to you afterwards and all, what intrigued me here was that this, as you said, is not just programming. Yes, it's programming, of course, but this is brainstorming the idea for an app, whiteboarding it, trying to figure out what it's going to be, actually doing it, but then also there's an entrepreneurship and a business side to this where you teach the girls how to pitch it and how to maybe go out and look for funding. And again, I realize this is all, mock-ups, but that I love that idea because it was very much real. It wasn't just the coding part, because that that can be an uphill battle or maybe not, but the rest of it, I mean, I think it gives them a full view of things, and they're going to understand that there's probably going to be different parts of the process that appeal to them more than others, and you got to take all of it together as what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, the idea for the pitch session, we're casting around for some kind of event we could hold at the end of the week. To sort of wrap up camp and invite the parents to see what the kids have done. Like if you go to theater camp or music camp, there's usually a performance at the end of camp. And, thinking about performing, I thought, well, I've done this myself. When I've worked for startups, is go to angel investor, community or venture capitalists, and you have your slide deck and you have your 10-minute pitch and you try to sell people on your idea. And I mean, it's very typical thing you do in this business. So my sister, Judy Johnston, she's an entrepreneur and also, active in the venture capital community. And I said to her, would you put together a panel of women? And there's a group here in Portland called Women's Investment Network, and it's all women angel investors. And I thought, and my sister was involved with them. I said, "What? Maybe you could get some of those women together to listen to the pitches and give feedback." And so she did, and it went really, really well. The girls made keynote presentations, of course, and learned a little bit about that. That was fun, and they talked about what their apps did and what distinguished their apps from other apps that were in the App Store, how much they would charge, if anything, or how they would make money. And then they got, the idea was not to pick apart their presentations or, or to award them any money, but to let them have the practice of presenting and then getting some very encouraging and, useful feedback. In fact, at listening to some of the things that the investors had to say, I thought, wow, every software developer should be hearing this advice. How they might think outside the box of what's the revenue source. So it's not just advertising or in-app purchase or selling, but these girls are very creative, and the stuff that they created could actually be spun out into other realms besides just an app, besides being just an app. So that was very exciting, and I think everybody enjoyed that. The parents got to come, and I'm excited about that. And that'll be part of what we do in San Francisco as well, which is going to be very interesting because there's no shortage of investors in venture capitalists in San Francisco. So we've got quite a panel lined up for there.
Cool. Well, that takes us to the session, which, what is this going to be? Because it can be obviously an introduction to App Camp for Girls, but are you going to do like a mock App Camp for Girls kind of thing, or what do you have planned?
Well, the idea, as Paul and I and Kathy Moran from IDG talked about what we could do, because we can't do a whole App Camp. Even a one-day App Camp would be really too much for the Macworld context. But we didn't want to just do a presentation, because that also didn't quite seem like the right way to go. And we came up with this hybrid idea of part presentation and part hands-on work. But we wanted girls to come. That was always the idea, is that it will be open to everyone, but we are especially encouraging girls to come and have a chance to check out what App Camp what we do at App Camp and get a little taste of what the camp is like. So we will be showing them, how we build apps in Xcode, for example. We'll be doing brainstorming techniques and have anybody in the audience who wants to, we're going to have the worksheets that we use at App Camp. We'll be using them at the Macworld session to come up with, help people hone their ideas and then work on a little bit how the apps would work, what the interface would look like. And at the end of the 2-hour session, the last part of it will have this panel of investors, women investors, listen to some of the ideas that people, girls primarily, but we don't know. We've never done anything like this, so it may, I don't want to tell the adults we will be ignoring them, because we may not be. The girls may end up being too shy. I don't know. But to talk about the ideas they have for apps, and so it will be more than just like, wow, I had this idea for an app, but like, well, I got this idea because we worked through this exercise of what makes a good app and what how you narrow it down into something that's doable, and that. So they'll have something concrete to present to this panel and get some feedback on the ideas, and people can kind of see how the give and take of that pitch session works as well.
This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Take Control Books. The answers you need now from leading experts. The hits just keep on coming from Take Control Books. Josh Centers helps you get the most out of Apple's set-top box in Take Control of Apple TV. From setup to some of the more advanced capabilities, Josh walks you through each of the Apple TV's features, making sure you know how to do what you want to do and make the most of your viewing time. Stop channel surfing and watch the content you really want to watch with Take Control of Apple TV. Michael E. Cohen's latest effort is Take Control of Pages, and it's a bit different. Sold as a pre-book, you get a large first chapter and then subsequent chapters as Michael finishes them. This method achieves more flexibility in a title that seems to be constantly changing as Pages for the Mac and iOS develop. Michael shares some of the essential tips on making sense of Pages rewrite and how to use it on both platforms. Joe Kissel has delivered a 1-2 punch with Take Control of Your Passwords and Take Control of 1Password. It seems that data breaches are an almost daily occurrence now, and password management is at the front line of security for your personal information. Joe takes a broad look at the subject in his Passwords book, and then gives you some tips on the most effective use of his and my favorite password manager. While Joe can't guarantee your security, he can certainly improve the odds. Those are just some of the most recent titles from Take Control books. All are affordable alone, and many are more affordable with their bundle deals. Take Control books are designed, written, and edited to get the most useful information in your hands in an understandable, approachable form that is both easy and fun to use. Visit Take Control Books right now to see all the great titles and learn something new about your favorite programs. Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Thanks to Take Control Books for their support of MacVoices. I know that a number of our friends have been exchanging tweets about this session, and a number of them that have young girls in the family have said, yeah, I'm going to bring my daughter because I want her to experience this. I want her to see this. Mm-hmm. So no pressure at all, Jean. But I think, right away, this community is springing to the backing of this. And I would say, that's something that if you do have a daughter, if you're in the area and you have a daughter in, Jean, you tell me what age range, get her out of school and bring her to just this session, if nothing else.
Well, it's on Saturday, so you don't have
better.
to take them out of school. It's 10 to 12 on the Saturday morning of Macworld. I've said like girls like 12 and up are probably the most likely candidates, but we don't have an age limitation. And I know there are 10-year-olds that probably would be just as excited about it as, some 12-year-olds or 14-year-olds. So I would say, late elementary school age, because they're going to have to sit still and watch some stuff, and they're going to have to work a little bit independently. So you be the judge of whether you think your daughter would be interested in doing that. But we're really looking forward to seeing a pretty good sized crowd of girls there, based on some of the feedback that I'm getting from people we know in San Francisco and, of course, the Macworld community.
Okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm sorry, but I've got. And by the way, Jean is just getting over a cold, so she's being very gracious with her time. So sip the tea and the honey, but Jean, I have to ask: how about boys of the same age? Are they welcome at this session?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. I should have said that.
Well, it's app camp for girls, It's so, but and I don't want to send you a whole crowd of boys to disrupt things if you don't want them.
You have me picturing like roving gangs of boy nerds. Oh yes, they're definitely welcome. Everybody's welcome, so we would not specifically rule out boys, provided they're well behaved, which I'm sure they will be. But obviously, we do have a focus on girls, and so that's where we're going to be putting most of our efforts in terms of recruiting the audience and doing the activities for them. But it'd be interesting if some boys come. I mean, I honestly feel that, like, at some point, what my big dream is that at some point we won't really need to have app camp for girls, because there'll be so many girls and women in programming, and we can just have app camp and it can be co-ed. Yeah.
Well, you've been a huge inspiration, I think, to a lot of girls and a lot of women in our community. And, with your position with Smile and the way that under your guidance, Smile became part of the community in a big way. You became part of the community in a big way. I mean, you're just at times here on MacVoices you've been on, not as a representative of anybody, but just as someone in the community, I think speaks volumes. So, and I just love the idea that this is going forward, hopefully in a bigger way than it was going to before. So I hope you'll come back and talk to us more when the cold is you've gotten rid of it.
Same here. I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
It's all right.
That's all right. Folks, that's Gene. We love you. We'll see you in San Francisco and see you at the App Camp for Girls session. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. Gene and App Camp for Girls are going to be in San Francisco. I'm going to be in San Francisco. Everybody you've seen on the road to Macworld is going to be in San Francisco. We hope you are there too. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date with all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com.